funny how you can get to like a car. In no time, I was calling it Matthew, and was spending all my time keeping it polished and humming. A positronic brain stays in condition best when it's got control of its chassis at all times, which means it's worth keeping the gas tank filled so that the motor can turn over slowly day and night. After a while, it got so I could tell by the sound of the motor how Matthew felt. In his own way, Harridge grew fond of Matthew, too. He had no one else to like. He'd divorced or outlived 3 wives, and outlived 5 children and 3 grandchildren. So when he died, maybe it wasn't surprising that he had his estate converted into a farm for retired automobiles, with me in charge, and Matthew the first member of a distinguished line. It's turned out to be my life. I never got married. You can't get married and still tend to automatics the way you should. The newspapers thought it was funny, but after a while they stopped joking about it. Some things you can't joke about. Maybe you've never been able to afford an automatic, and maybe you never will either, but take it from me, you get to love them. They're hard-working and affectionate. It takes a man with no heart to mistreat one, or to see one mistreated. It got so that after a man had an automobile for a while, he would make provisions for having it left to the farm, if he didn't have an heir he could rely on to give it good care. I explained that to Gellhorn. He said, 51 cars? That represents a lot of money. 50,000 minimum per automatic, original investment, I said. They're worth a lot more now. I've done things for them. It must take a lot of money to keep up the farm. Oh, you're right there. The farm's a non-profit organization, which gives us a break on taxes, and, of course, new automatics that come in usually have trust funds attached. Still, costs are always going up. I have to keep the place landscaped. I keep laying down new asphalt and keeping the old in repair. There's gasoline, oil, repairs, and new gadgets. It adds up. And you've spent a long time at it. I sure have, Mr. Gellhorn. 33 years. You don't seem to be getting much out of it yourself. I don't? You surprise me, Mr. Gellhorn. I've got Sally and 50 others. Look at her. I was grinning. I couldn't help it. Sally was so clean it almost hurt. Some insect must have died on her windshield, or one speck of dust too many had landed, so she was going to work. A little tube protruded and spurted Turgasol over the glass. It spread quickly over the silicone surface film, and squeegees snapped into place instantly, passing over the windshield and forcing the water into the little channel that led it dripping down to the ground. Not a speck of water got onto her glistening apple-green hood. Squeegee and detergent tube snapped back into place and disappeared. Gellhorn said, I never saw an automatic do that. I guess not, I said. I fixed that up specially on our cars. They're clean. They're always scrubbing their glass. They like it. I've even got Sally fixed up with wax jets. She polishes herself every night till you can see your face in any part of her and shave by it. If I can scrape up the money, I'd be putting it on the rest of the girls. Convertibles are very vain. I can tell you how to scrape up the money, if that interests you. That always does. How? Isn't it obvious, Jake? Any of your cars is worth 50,000 minimum, you said. I'll bet most of them top 6 figures. So? Ever think of selling a few? I shook my head. You don't realize it, I guess, Mr. Gellhorn, but I can't sell any of these. They belong to the farm, not to me. The money would go to the farm. The incorporation papers of the farm provide that the cars receive perpetual care. They can't be sold. What about the motors, then? I don't understand you. Gellhorn shifted position, and his voice got confidential. Look here, Jake. Let me explain the situation. There's a big market for private automatics if they could only be made cheaply enough, right? That's no secret. And 95% of the cost is the motor, right? Now, I know where we can get a supply of bodies. I also know where we can sell automatics at a good price, 20 or 30,000 for the cheaper models, maybe 50 or 60 for the better ones. All I need are the motors. You see the solution? I don't, Mr. Gellhorn. I did, but I wanted him to spell it out. It's right here. You've got 51 of them. You're an expert automobile mechanic, Jake. You must be. You could unhook a motor and place it in another car so that no one would know the difference. It wouldn't be exactly ethical. You wouldn't be harming the cars. You'd be doing them a favor. Use your older cars. Use that old Metalbot. Well, now, wait a while, Mr. Gellhorn. The motors and bodies aren't two separate items. They're a single unit. Those motors are used to their own bodies. They wouldn't be happy in another car. All right, that's a point. That's a very good point, Jake. It would be like taking your mind and putting it in someone else's skull, right? You don't think you would like that? I don't think I would, no. But what if I took your mind and put it into the body of a young athlete? What about that, Jake? You're not a youngster anymore. If you had the chance, wouldn't you enjoy being 20 again? That's what I'm offering some of your positronic motors. They'll be put into new 57 bodies, the latest construction. I laughed. That doesn't make much sense, Mr. Gellhorn. Some of our cars may be old, but they're well cared for. Nobody drives them. They're allowed their own way. They're retired, Mr. Gellhorn. I wouldn't want a 20-year-old body if it meant I had to dig ditches for the rest of my new life and never have enough to eat. What do you think, Sally? Sally's two doors opened and then shut with a cushioned slam. What's that? Said Gellhorn. That's the way Sally laughs. Gellhorn forced a smile. I guess he thought I was making a bad joke. He said, Talk sense, Jake. Cars are made to be driven. They're probably not happy if you don't drive them. I said, Sally hasn't been driven in 5 years. She looks happy to me. I wonder. He got up and walked toward Sally slowly. Hi, Sally. How'd you like a drive? Sally's motor revved up. She backed away. Don't push her, Mr. Gellhorn, I said. She's liable to be a little skittish. 2 sedans were about 100 yards up the road. They had stopped. Maybe, in their own way, they were watching. I didn't bother about them. I had my eyes on Sally, and I kept them there. Gellhorn said, Steady now, Sally. He lunged out and seized the door handle. It didn't budge, of course. He said, It opened a minute ago. I said, Automatic lock. She's got a sense of privacy, Sally has. He let it go, then said, slowly and deliberately, A car with a sense of privacy shouldn't go around with its top down. He stepped back 3 or 4 paces. Then quickly, so quickly I couldn't take a step to stop him, he ran forward and vaulted into the car.